The Richie Rich Club from real estate sector of the country, DLF Chairman Rajiv Singh remains the wealthiest Indian real estate entrepreneur with a wealth of 59,000 crore rupees, according to a rich list that has been compiled by GROHE-HURUN India. With a wealth of 42,270 crore, Mangal Prabhat Lodha and his family of macro tech developers come in at second position, while Arjun Menda and family of Bengaluru-based RMZ Corporation debuted at third position on the list with a total fortune of 26,000 crore rupees. Chandru Raheja and family of K. Raheja Corporation have successfully held on to the fourth position, while Hiranandani Communities founder Niranjan Hiranandani is currently at fifth position with a fortune of 23,900 crore rupees. The top 10 real estate billionaires accounted for 60% of cumulative wealth. That is according to the rich list that has just come out. Joining us at this point in time is Rahman Junaid, who is the Managing Director and Chief Researcher at Hurun India. Also going to join us very shortly is Bobby Joseph, who is a leader at GROHE. But before they come in, Kartik, this is a growing rich list, but interesting, and as far as when you look at the trends that have emerged, which is the top 10 billionaires are accounting for 60% of the cumulative wealth in the real estate sector, essentially. And this is not to be laughed at, but inequality even within billionaires, come to think of it.
Yeah, I mean, the range is fairly vast. The range is vast. I mean, you're talking about 60,000 crores versus 23,000 crores. I mean, the delta is huge, but real estate in any case belongs to the rich. Right, and it is a sector where only the moneyed can sort of, make more and more money. And it is a sector where you're acquiring land, and land always appreciates. So what you're talking about here is net worth. What you're talking here about is basically the value of the assets that you own, and not necessarily, the revenue you've made in a year or the profit you've made in a year. This is your net worth. And net worth, of course, is a function of what all assets you own universally, not just restricted to the house you live in or the car you drive. In this case, it is acres and acres of land, which is also technically your property. You've built on it, you've sold certain flats, you've kept some. So yeah, that is what we're really looking at. But you're right, that disparity is fairly huge between all the haves in the have list.
And haves in the that's rightly put, haves in the haves list. Let me quickly run our audiences through some of the key takeaways of that list. The total wealth is up by 4% in the overall list. Cumulative wealth of the top 100 in the GROHE-HURUN India rich list stands at on an upward of 400,000 crore, which is up 4% as against 2022. 25% of the list was replaced, which means we've seen more names coming in. 23 new entrants and 2 re-entrants in the rich list. 47% of the list was replaced over 5 years. Interesting trend. 47% of the people were replaced in the rich list, which essentially means more and more entrepreneurs are making it big when it comes to money and real estate.
Shweta, either that or the value of land, the circle rate, the value of the property that they own has spiked up.
Absolutely.
So there are markets which continue to grow faster than markets which are a little slower. So I think it's a function of which sector in a city happens to suddenly go bigger and grow in terms of its value.
Right.
And that sort of reflects on the net richness, the net wealth, net proceeds of an individual or an organization.
Okay, Anas is with us, so is Bobby. Anas, coming to you. Okay, Bobby is through us. We're getting Anas very shortly. Bobby, help us understand, and this is interesting, 47% of the list was replaced over the last 5 years, and Kartik believes that essentially boils down to the fact that prices of land that you have acquired or you've had, or it was in your possession, has also changed significantly. Is that the reason why there is a fast change in the list, or is there more to it? Is it because more and more entrepreneurs are foraying into real estate? What would you account this trend to?
So one of the things is that yes, the wealth of land has increased substantially, especially in the key metro cities. But there's also new players that are coming in, and I'm sure Anas, who's with Hurun and the CEO of Hurun, would be able to shed more light on that. But from what we've seen, it's clearly the cost of land today that has gone substantially high in metro cities. And if you really look at DLF, if you look at Gurgaon itself, the cost over the last 1 year has escalated quite a bit.
Which are the top cities, Bobby, that you are exploring right now? Of course, we know the usual suspects. We know Delhi, NCR, we know Mumbai, we know Bangalore, we know Hyderabad. But in the tier 2 cities, are there some indicators that you're getting on where land circle rates, property prices, the rate of acquisition of land, etc., is really shooting up through the sky right now, which should be areas for our audience to at least watch for from an investment perspective?
I wouldn't say shooting up drastically, but yes, they are going up. Markets like Pune, Hyderabad, Chandigarh, Jaipur. More recently, we've seen increase in places like Rajkot.
Why is that so? What is attributing to growth of a city like Rajkot?
I strongly believe it is the industrialization that is happening. Today, if you look at commercial activity, these cities are growing phenomenally well. And that is where the developers are also moving, because today the aspiration of the people is to have good quality life, and that's what the developers are actually catering to. And there is, as income levels increase, disposable income is pretty high in these markets.
Okay. And what about other tier 2 cities? You mentioned Jaipur, Lucknow, etc., Pune. These are all tier 1 cities, and these are also state capitals or the next biggest city after the state capital. In tier 2, what are the trends you're picking up? What about cities like, let's say, Durgapur or Ranchi or alike, which which still don't make it at the same level as, let's say, Lucknow or Jaipur?
True. So we are seeing activity in, say, a smaller city like Dhanbad. It's a much smaller compared to the Tier 1 cities. We are seeing Vizag picking up. So we're seeing some of the Tier 2 cities picking up very strong. Again, I would put this to 2 or 3 things. One is the commercial development of these areas. Number one, as infrastructure develops, people are moving to areas where the quality of life also changes, and that's where you're seeing the Tier 2 and the Tier 3 cities also growing. For example, in the past you did not have Ranchi, but Ranchi is coming into the picture. If you look at even the south, we are seeing markets where, for example, I wouldn't consider Coimbatore as Tier 2; it's still coming as Tier 1 for us. But there is growth. Madurai, Coimbatore are cities where we are seeing growth. Northern part of Kerala is seeing a large amount of commercial activity. I think as infrastructure grows, you will see more and more of this. As tourism grows, you're going to see more of the hospitality business spreading across the country.
Another interesting trend, and I want to bring in Anas here. Anas, western region states like Maharashtra and Gujarat are accounting for 40% of the cumulative wealth of real estate billionaires. Essentially, most billionaires emerging from Maharashtra and Gujarat, and there's been an increase of 83% over the last 5 years. So what is driving growth in these markets?
Hi, thanks for the opportunity. This is basically analysis of how these entrepreneurs are creating wealth and value of the last few years. And if you ask me specifically, even when you look at the India Rich List, which we launch every year, the biggest wealth creators are coming from creations happening in Maharashtra, Karnataka, then Gujarat, Delhi, and so on. So Maharashtra and Gujarat has always been one of the top wealth-creating economies in India. From that perspective, if you extrapolate that further, what are the important trends to note here is where is the rising income levels in the country, right? So if you extrapolate that, one could easily say that it is a factor of rising income levels. Wealth being created in this country, which will have an impact on the buying capacity of the consumers there, which will of course have a trickle-down effect in terms of real estate economy doing well there. So that is the explanation that I could think of from a rich list standpoint and wealth creation perspective.
Which are the cities or which are the sectors which are falling off the grid as far as the rich list in the real estate sector goes, which I assume would be, of course, a function of the land prices?
Yeah, I'm not an expert in land price, to be honest, but to be honest, if you do a simple comparisons, right? From my perspective, all these sectors are doing really well. I look at the whole thing as from a 5 to 6 year window, right? Just to give you some numbers, residential, for instance, right? If you just look at the revenue growth, the revenue of all the listed companies in the GROHE-HURUN real estate rich list, if you just take the revenues of the last 1 year, it's gone up by 18%. So residential revenues have gone up just from the list. And if you look at the cumulative wealth created by commercial real estate entrepreneurs in the list, that has also gone up. Hospitality has had a great comeback after COVID. So, and if you look at the threshold to enter the top 10 in the list, it's gone up by 5 times from 3,000 crores to rupees 15,000 crores. Threshold to enter the top 50 in the list has gone up by 2 times from 600 crores to about 1,300 crores. And 1/4 of the list is replaced, which is new top wealth creators are coming from tier 1, tier 2. So overall, if you ask me, Indian real estate is possibly firing from all the cylinders. Maybe every year there could be a winner and a loser, but cumulatively every sector is won.
All right. I also want you to quickly run us through, Anas, at this point in time, some of the most interesting takeaways of the list before I let you go.
I think the biggest takeaway of the list is a few things. One is, of course, one heartening takeaway for me is that I always had the question, why aren't Indian real estate companies building national brands? They're all local heroes, but why aren't they building national brands? When we put out the list in 2017, only 15% of the list had operations beyond their primary state of origin, let's say Bangalore or Karnataka or so on, right? But then fast forward to the current year, almost 60% of the list have their operations beyond their origin.
Anas, Bobby, thanks very much for joining with your inputs on that very important story. Nearly 1/4 of the rich list in real estate has been replaced. More billionaires coming in from tier 2, tier 3 city. Now, that's heartening. Those are, of course, very interesting numbers.